Imposter syndrome is not a diagnosable condition, so you're not going to come to see me in my clinic and say I have imposter syndrome. Yet it goes hand in hand with quite a number of cases of anxiety, depression, and career burnout. And extremely common this phenomenon is, and it may affect up to an estimated 62% of people, 82% of people, and may impair their professional performance. There's something Annabelle said, which is true, and it is that it also affects people in different areas of their life. So there are people who are getting married for the first time and feel, I have imposter syndrome. I don't think I'm good enough to be a wife. I'm not good enough to be a husband. It affects quite a number of people who are first-time parents who don't think they have what it takes to be parents of a child, because they're like, why would anybody trust me with a full-grown human being? So next slide talks about the types of imposter syndrome. So there are 5 main types, and we're just going to go through all the 5. The first type is the perfectionist. Then you have the superman or superwoman. Then you have the natural, you have the soloist, and you have the expert. So I'll go through each of them. And so these are the set of questions that let you know what type of imposter syndrome are you dealing with. Some of us may have all 5. Some of us may have 3 out of 5. Some of us may have 2 out of 5. And some of us may just be one of the lucky few people who don't have imposter syndrome. So the first is the perfectionist. And the truth is, most people that have imposter syndrome suffer from this. And think about it. Perfectionists set excessively high goals for themselves. And when they fail to reach a goal, they experience major self-doubt and worry about measuring up. Let me say this. Quite a number of people in the tech space are perfectionists. And as we will come to find out later, having imposter syndrome is not the problem. It is that when the imposter syndrome symptoms stop you from becoming all designed to be. So if you think you're a perfectionist or think you're not, ask yourself this set of questions. Have you ever been accused of being a micromanager? Has anyone ever said you micromanage all your tasks? Do you have great difficulty delegating? Even when you're able to do so, do you feel frustrated and disappointed in the results when you delegate? Then, when you miss the insanely high mark on something, do you accuse yourself of being not cut out for your job? So there are certain people who cannot stand the idea of failing to reach a mark. Okay, over here. All right. Maduka, please, can you go to the next slide? Okay, so that's the perfectionist. So you generally tend. So the next type is the superman or the superwoman. So let's go to the superman. So people with this kind of symptoms of imposter syndrome are the ones who generally find it hard to fail. They really think they can do everything. So these are some of the questions to find out if you're dealing with superman or superwoman type of imposter syndrome. Do you stay later at the office than the rest of your team, even past the point that you've completed that day's necessary work? Are you the kind of person that stays extra hours even when the team has gone? Do you get stressed when you're not working and find downtime completely wasteful? Quite a number of people had issues like this during COVID when, okay, you tech people were working during COVID, but quite a number of people were in workspaces where they had to be in the office, and then they found themselves having so much downtime, they became stressed by that. Have you let your hobbies and passions fall by the wayside, sacrificed to work? Are you that triangular person? You eat, you sleep, you go to work, you come back, and that's all you do. Do you feel like you haven't truly earned your title despite numerous degrees and achievements, so you feel pressed to work harder and longer than those around you to prove your worth? So imposter workaholics are actually addicted to the validation that comes from working, not to the work itself. So to be addicted to the validation that comes from working is The work is we're supposed to finish this project by 7 a.m. The 15th of October. Now, the work is done by the 13th instead of the 15th. For a person who has the superwoman or the superman complex, you are not happy about the fact that we finished the work. What gives you validation is the fact that you're constantly working. Then the next type is the natural genius. So, some people with this competence type believe they need to be a natural genius. As such, they judge their performance or their competence based on the ease and speed as opposed to their efforts. In other words, if they take a long time to master anything, they feel shame. Now imagine that you know this, you can do it, but because it is taking you a long time to master something new, you start to feel a sense of shame. So let us ask you a few questions to know whether this is what you're dealing with. Are you used to excelling without much effort? Do you have a track record of getting straight A's or gold stars in everything you do? Were you told frequently as a child that you were the smart one in your family or peer group? Do you dislike the idea of having a mentor because you can handle things on your own? Now, there are certain people who just do not like the idea of depending on another person. And so these are the issues that they have. When they have to have a mentor or you tell them to go and get mentoring, they're like, no, I can learn on my own. I don't need anyone to teach me. When you're faced with a setback, does your confidence tumble because not performing well provokes a feeling of shame? So anytime you fail at anything, does your confidence tumble significantly? Do you often avoid challenges because it is uncomfortable to try something you're not great at? So are you the kind of person that avoids any project or any business or any task when it's something you're not very great at? So for instance, for someone like me, I hate anything that requires keeping data and being very, very organized. So when you tell me, oh, we have to work on an Excel sheet and we have to input data, I am going to run away from any task like that. So am I calling myself a natural genius? Maybe, maybe not. All right, next slide. Then the fourth type is the soloist. Now, sufferers who feel as though asking for help reveals their phoniness are what are called soloists. So let me say it again. People who feel as though asking for help reveals their phoniness are soloists. It's okay to be independent, but not to the extent that you refuse assistance so that you can prove your worth. So natural genius and soloists are similar, but the difference is with the natural genius, the emphasis is on how easy is it for me to get it done. For the soloist is that I must do it by myself. So if you think you might be dealing with it, answer this question. Do you firmly believe that you need to accomplish things on your own? Does this sound like you? I don't need anyone's help. Do you frame requests in terms of the requirements of the project rather than your needs as a person? So let me explain that. You have a project, you're going to have certain difficulties. You're asking for team members to join in and help you. But instead of framing it as, oh, please, Mr. A, can you help me with this? You frame it as, oh, no, the business has told us we need to get this done by so and so. So please, can you join in to get this task done? Because you cannot imagine having the one who needs another person. Then the fifth type is the expert. Now, experts measure their competence based on what and how much they know or can do. The difference between the expert and the natural genius is that the natural genius focuses on how easy it is to get information, how much they know. But the expert, their competence is based on what and how much, or what they can do. They never believe they know enough. They fear they will be exposed as inexperienced or unknowledgeable. That is their greatest fear. While for the natural genius, it is how easy or how fast can I answer the question. For the expert is, what if they find out what I don't know? So answer these questions. Do you shy away from applying to job postings unless you meet every single educational requirement? So they're asking for a level 4 competence level and you are a level 3. Will you shy away from applying for those jobs because you just do not have the level 4 that is required? But level 3 is just next to it. Are you constantly seeking out trainings or certifications because you think you need to improve your skills in order to succeed? Even if you've been in your role for some time, can you relate to feeling like you still don't know enough? Do you ever think I need to know more? And that is what wakes you up, and that is what makes you keep pushing for more. And then do you shudder? Are you afraid when someone says, you must be an expert, I guess? So it's true to always want to learn, and it is good to bulk up your skill. But when you take it too far, the tendency to endlessly seek out more information can actually be a form of procrastination, where you're constantly deferring taking up roles because you think, oh, I need to learn this. I need to learn this. I need to learn this. So for those kind of people, you need to practice just-in-time learning. This means you acquire a skill when you need it, not, oh, I always have to learn everything I can before I can start. Excuse me. Now, these inner struggles usually stem from a person doing something out of their comfort zone, fueled by past experiences, core beliefs, or cognitive distortions. That is where it comes to our field. So next slide. So before we get to this, can you go back? So there's certain things I want to talk about briefly, which are not on the slide, which is, so what are the causes of imposter syndrome? Where did they come from? What are their root causes? So these are a list of 4 things that may cause or may lead to imposter syndrome, but they are not exhaustive because there are many much more. The first is childhood experiences. If you're exposed to frequent criticism as a child, or shame for your perceived shortcomings or your inability to maintain a certain standard, you may struggle with imposter syndrome as an adult. And let me say, just to be full disclosure, this was something that I dealt with for most of my life before I became a doctor, because I had a parent who frequently would tell me certain things about what I did not do well, compare me to my sibling, say different things. In fact, the parent would even tell me, I wonder how it is that you're even passing your exam, because you rarely read, you rarely do what you're supposed to do. And so even when I became a doctor and people were asking me, so what are you going to do? What are you going to specialize? I really had no desire or no clue, because I just felt I'm not good enough, because that's all I heard. So for some people, it comes from childhood experiences. A second cause may come from a competitive workplace. If you work or have worked in an extremely demanding environment that expects and demands a large amount of skill right away, and that is the textbook definition of the tech industry, then this may also cause some bit of imposter syndrome, because in this kind of environment, the feedback is constantly negative, because people start to feel, oh, I'm not measuring enough. And then also for people who have expert kind of imposter syndrome, being in an environment where you are next to other high achievers gives you these feelings that you are not measuring enough. Then the third is when you come from a marginalized community. It might be social, it might be economic, it might be even ethnic. And of course, it can be gender. So there are certain industries where certain people are not found. So for instance, they say if you go to Silicon Valley, less than 1% of the people that are getting funding look like you and I, right? Brown skin. And there are quite a number of venture capital funds are not interested in funding the ideas of people that are brown skin. And so people who have this skin go into those environments, and there's this belief that I don't measure up, and it causes quite a number of them to develop imposter syndrome. So an individual who is Black may question whether they belong in predominantly white spaces. A woman who is going into engineering may feel, oh, I am a minority in this place, and that can also cause imposter syndrome. Another cause is negative stereotyping, where there are certain stereotypes attached to certain ethnicities. So I come from Nigeria, there are certain ethnicities that are said to be greedy, they need money all the time. There are certain ethnicities that are called party-loving people, and that's all they do. And that in and of itself creates a negative stereotype. So people who get in and belong to those ethnicities now feel I have to do more to correct this belief that they may have. So let's go to the next slide, which talks about the effects. What does imposter syndrome do to the individual? The first is that it will impact your individual performance. People with imposter syndrome may hesitate to take on new challenges. They may hesitate to pursue opportunities for growth because of their self-doubt. This will limit their professional development and career advancement. For example, they may avoid applying for promotions. They may avoid leadership roles because they feel unworthy or fear they are going to be judged. And this behavior stifles growth for the individual, but also reduces the overall talent pool available for leadership positions within tech companies. So we're saying, oh, sorry, I've been asked to pause. Sorry. What do I say? I can pause on this?
Yes. I'm sorry, okay, sir. But because we missed the poll,
okay,
I would like to launch the first poll so that we can engage everyone.
Okay.
All right, please, can you see it, please? Hello. Hello, we are currently running the poll and it's on your screen. Yes, I can see that 6 people have answered. We have those 5 questions so that Dr. Banji can also talk about it. Okay, let me give 30 seconds more. All right, so I'm going to be ending the poll now. All right, thank you so much for answering the poll. Dr. Banji, please, you can go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Modupe. All right. So we're talking about the effects of imposter syndrome on individuals and the team, and we talked about performance. Okay. So next up is that it will affect. So can we have the next slide, please? Hello? Modupe? Okay, yes. So it also can affect, yes, thank you. It also can affect team dynamics. And remember that every team is going to be determined by the individual members in them. And so individuals with imposter syndrome can have a difficulty having open communications with team members, because when you feel that I don't belong in a place and you're battling self-doubt, it's quite difficult to air out your opinions. It's quite difficult to confidently say when you agree or disagree with a particular position that the team might have taken, because you think, look, I don't deserve to be here. I am battling with self-doubt. So how are they going to believe whatever I have to say is important? And of course, it also can affect your ability to share your thoughts, your vulnerability, and also every team is only as strong as its weakest link. So if the weakest link on a team is battling self-doubt, then that team is going to have a difficulty with achieving most of their goals, because they have team members who think they don't deserve, or who think their opinions don't matter, and who think that they're going to have difficulties with people believing whatever they're saying. So it definitely would contribute. Next slide. So then the other thing that it can cause is that it can cause a system failure. The prevalence of imposter syndrome is particularly pronounced among underrepresented groups in tech. So people of color, women, certain ethnicities. And so those kind of people will have systemic barriers and biases that exacerbate feelings of inadequacy. And that lack of representation in the system would also reinforce the stereotypes about those who belong in tech and those who don't. So for instance, certain people are of belief that the reason why there are not more women in tech is because women are less intelligent, but we know that that is not true. But the truth is, because you have fewer people of that gender being in tech, it reinforces the stereotype. And the truth is that the system is going to have a cycle of self-doubt. And that cycle of self-doubt is going to affect the system, and it would lead to failure. Next slide. Which is what I really came for, which is burnout, right? Burnout and stress are related, but they're not the same thing. Because quite a number of people think, oh, because it is because I'm stressed, that is why I have suffered burnout. But the truth is, many times, burnout is not just stress. Yes, it is as a function of chronic stress, but it also has a feeling of exhaustion where a person has had no, the slide before that. Sorry. So where a person feels I'm in a competitive environment, there is no point in continuing to do better or to come up with more ideas, and this will negatively affect their mental health. So remember I said that the relationship between imposter syndrome and anxiety is when a person works in an environment where they doubt themselves, their rates of stress is higher, their anxiety levels go up through the roof, and that in and of itself can also feed into depression. And so when a person is negatively affected, their mental health is negatively affected, they tend to overcompensate by becoming overprepared. I was watching an episode of The Resident on Netflix, and a young lady who was an intern had dyslexia. And so because she had dyslexia, she has to over prepare because written or new information is difficult for her to process. And of course, it led to a lot of problems and she was going to get burnt out. And that is what having imposter syndrome can do. So what are the strategies we can use to overcome imposter syndrome? Next slide, Monica. Thank you. Can you change your thought patterns? Because imposter syndrome distorts the way a person interprets their successes and even their failures, then we understand that the problem is not with your success or failure. The problem is your interpretation. And that is the basis of saying you need to change the way you think. So CBT, which stands for cognitive behavioral therapy, is a form of psychotherapy that works for people with imposter syndrome. Because basically what it does is that it shows you that, look, there are quite a number of ways that you think that is the problem, not necessarily whether you have failed or succeeded. Then the second thing you can do, next slide, is to separate inexperience from inability. They are not the same thing. The fact that I have never, what have I not done before? Okay, I've never flown a plane before. That is inexperience. It does not mean I will never be able to learn how to fly a plane. And quite a number of times, people with imposter syndrome need to know the difference because they are not the same thing. The fact that you are where you are in any position in the tech space is proof that you can learn. And so that means you have the ability to learn anything, but it's inexperience that you have. You've never had to do this before. You've never had to walk through a new position before. But you can learn it, and you need to learn the difference between inexperience and inability. Next slide. We're coming towards rounding up. Confide in a trusted source. Like I said, a lot of our achievers have this secret in common. And so quite a number of people think that they're the only ones going through what imposter syndrome is. And so you see quite a number of people who try and camouflage it with bravado. They try and appear to be super intelligent. They try and overcompensate. But the truth is, talking to someone that you trust, not just any colleague, but someone you trust, a mentor, a person in a totally different industry, definitely helps you understand that, one, you're not the only person, and that, two, there is a way out and a way to get out of this. Four. Sorry, next slide, sorry. Which is the fourth thing? Hello? Odupa? Acknowledge your accomplishments, because quite a number of us actually have accomplishments and we've done certain things that if other people knew and if people had even seen, they would definitely celebrate with us. But the issue with imposter syndrome performance, you tend to focus on what it is that you don't have. And that in and of itself is the problem. So you need to acknowledge that, look, I got into this position. Wherever I am right now, I have gotten, even when at some point I thought it was never going to happen. So like I said, when I left medical school, if anybody told me that I was going to be a specialist, especially in mental health, I would have laughed the person off, because I was what we call a Nigerian NFA, which is a no future ambition doctor. I really wasn't interested in being a doctor as far as I was concerned. So acknowledge those accomplishments, acknowledge little wins, because what they tell you or give you is confidence that, look, I've overcome such a number of obstacles to get where I am. And those are the things that become building blocks for your next achievement. So I don't know how many people are religious or anything, but if you read the books that talks about the story of David, how he conquered Goliath, he said, I have beaten a bear, I have beaten a lion, I've killed a lion. This giant would be easy to take care of because he acknowledged what he had accomplished. And I think that is very important when a person is dealing with imposter syndrome. Last slide, please. Oh, okay. So let's read something. No, sorry.
Sorry, Maduka, there was a slide before the acknowledge accomplishments. There's a slide before that. The one that talks about being kind to yourself. It's not there. Oh, sorry. Okay, sorry. It's not here. But basically, it was about being kind to yourself. And basically, I'm going to say that you need to show grace to yourself. Quite a number of us are more willing to be gentle and gracious to others, and we are very, very hard on ourselves. And that needs to change because you're already in a stressful environment, you're already in a competitive environment, you already have deadlines. Being a little kinder to yourself is something that you need to deal with the issues of life. So let's read the testimonials quickly. The next slide. So I just wanted to read a few stories of certain people who've had to deal with imposter syndrome. So Kristen Kimberly is a speaker, a public speaker. And the first time she was ever told to come speak to a group of people, this is what she felt. She said she felt the fear of being exposed as a fraud was overwhelming. Baruch Labinsky said you must be able to pull off what you claim because he was going in for a project. They told him, can you do this? And he was afraid that I don't think I can. But the one I like most because of time is thinking back, I felt like an imposter when I launched my product and our first couple of sales rolled in. I worried that maybe customers wouldn't be happy with what we were offering. And there was a distinct chance that I had done something wrong, that I had got something wrong. I was practically waiting for the refund mails to come in. That was by Daman Jit Singh. Because of time, maybe you guys will go through that later. But basically, imposter syndrome, I think, can be a strength. The question is just ensuring that the feelings of self-doubt do not overwhelm you because you're not the only person who is having those feelings. All or most high achievers have had to deal with self-doubt at some point of time in their careers. And so it is important that you're kind to yourself, you acknowledge your accomplishments, you confide, and you change your way of thinking. Thank you very much. I think we have some time for questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Banji. It's really, really insightful. I can see Silas raising his hand. Okay, before we go into the question and answer, please, I would like us to, drop in the chat box what stood out for you. I want to see if we were really following. For me, my key highlights was when you mentioned inexperience is not inability. Inexperience is not inability. I think I'll be able to run with this. Please, I'm looking at the chat box now. I don't know if anyone has dropped any comments. What stood out for you? Except we've not been following this, the presentation. Hello, can you hear me, please?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
I don't
So
know
I'm
whether
waiting.
no
I'm
one
waiting
has dropped
for
anything yet.
Okay.
I think for me, what stood out is to talk about your accomplishments and realizing that sometimes when you take too long to do something, it's just because you don't believe that you're able to do it and not that you can't actually do it. I think that really resonated with me. And also wanting to ask for help in a good way. I think that was also very important. I see Ebenezer Terabo says, acknowledge your accomplishments, really hits hard. Or Bika can also say, can you please give a distinctive differentiation between the expert, the soloist, and the expert? There was a repetition there, but yeah.
Hello? Hello? Can you hear me,
We
please?
we can hear you.
Okay,
Um,
yes. We have a question. I think you just asked a question.
yes, it's
Yes, you did.
directed to Doctor.
Yes, please. Okay.
So, can I go ahead?
Yes, please.
Okay, so the person wanted to know the difference between an expert and a soloist. Like I said, they're quite similar, but the difference is that the soloist just wants to do everything by himself. He doesn't care what it is, whatever the task is, he just does not want to be bothered by other people being involved. For the expert, it is about, look, I have to have information. I have to gather all the information there is about this issue. It's not about whether there are people with me or not. I trust must be person that has all the information. And so because I don't have all the information, I refuse to get involved in the project. So a soloist might not have all the information, but he will still go ahead as long as he's doing it by himself. But for the experts, the issue is the emphasis is on knowing everything there is to know. I hope that helps.
Okay, thank you very much. I think the person that asked the question was Onyechi. I hope this helps you. This answers your question. Please confirm if you are clear on that. And then I think we can take the live question. I can see Silas raising his hand. Please, can you unmute and ask your question? Hello? Hello?
Modupe,
Can
who are
you hear
you
me, please?
telling to unmute? Sorry.
Okay, I could see that Silas was raising his hand all through the presentation. So I assume that he has a question.
Ah, okay.
Okay, we have another question. It says, how can one change their mindsets? Over to you, Doctor. Onyechi is asking again, how can one change their mindset? Hello, Doctor.
Yes, I lost my connection just there. All right. So
Okay.
can you hear me?
Yes, please. We can hear you, sir.
Okay. So how do you change your mindset? Like I said, some people can change their mindsets by observation, by modeling, but the most important is to talk to a therapist that is someone who is versed in the skill of CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy. The cognitive is how you think. So, for instance, 10 people are in a room and somebody says, oh, I am looking for a foolish person. 9 of us do not think we are foolish, so we don't bother. So we're not even worked up about what he said. One person gets so worked up that he wants to go into a fight because he thinks the person called him a foolish person. The issue is not what was said, it was the way that person thinks. So it's about your cognition. So you need to have sessions with somebody who is a therapist. It can be an organizational therapist, it can be a clinical therapist. But basically, what they're going to do is show you that how you think is a function of your experiences, your childhood, and they will help you reframe a lot of the distortions you have. So, for quite a number of people who have depression, for instance, they have what we call all or none generalization. Everything is either perfect or it cannot be perfect. And so those distortions is what the CBT therapist helps you do to change. Now, we are not very happy with the idea of seeing a therapist in this part of the world, but the truth is, every one of us has these distortions. All of us do, in one shape or form or the other. And that is so you might not have to see a therapist, but if you can see a mentor who's had to deal with this, they can also help you change your mindset. Because It is how your mind is fixed that determines how you see opportunities, how you see challenges, and how you deal with competition. I hope that helps.
Thank you so much, sir. Please, can you confirm if that answers your question? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Let me see.
And yes,
There's another
Obika
question.
says
Is there
it's
any other
eight.
question? Is there any other question in the chat box? Because I can't see it for some reason.
Not at the moment. All of them are answered. Yeah, unless there's any that's last minute, but I think we are mostly done.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Banji. It was a powerful session, and I'm sure that everyone gained valuable insights on how to manage imposter syndrome. Okay. Before we wrap up, I would like to talk again about health boxes. Maybe for some of us that Health Boxes is a teleconsultation company that is here to support your health and wellness journey. So you can connect to a doctor from the comfort of your home or your office or wherever, and you can speak to a doctor to discuss anything and be sure that your discussion is confidential. You will not see it on social media tomorrow. It's going to be confidential, so you can discuss anything. And we're also excited to announce our collaboration with PLP. And this allows you book consultation at a discount rate of 20%. Yeah, so you'll be getting 20% discount. So you can visit our websites at I'm sure you are seeing my screen, www.healthboxes.com. And then you can also call the phone number on the screen. And there's something I would also like to share before we round up is that we'll be launching our Health Boxes app very soon. And this app has been designed to provide a seamless experience in accessing healthcare services. So I want you all to stay tuned for updates so that you can be among the first to explore its features and possibly get discounts when you use it for the first time. And this app will also help you, choose your doctor, your convenient time. You can even also upload your lab results. And while we are putting this together, there's actually a survey going on to help us to give better experience, right? So I don't know, maybe we might email you the link so that you can. It's just to take a few minutes of your time to just fill it and then help us collate the feedback. All right, so you can also follow us on social media at Health Boxes Limited, and then on Facebook for great content from us about your health, about life, about your about health technically, yes. All right, so at this point, I would like to hand over to Bella. I don't know if you have any other thing to say. And Miss Lola is on the call. That's our manager. I don't know if she has something to say.
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah, sorry, Bella. I just wanted to remind and appeal to everybody we like to check ourselves, and there's a poll. I think Modupe was too excited to talk about while she was talking about health boxes. So, Modupe, if you could please share the poll.
Yes.
I hope this was useful. And please, Bella, I believe, because I found it very useful, and I've been, working with healthcare professionals for a while, but I think everybody suffers imposter syndrome. You're just going to have to get skills sets and change your mindset to be able to overcome it. So
Lola, I lost you for a minute there.
Yeah, I
Just
was,
when you said my name.
yeah, so sorry, I muted myself. But I was asking, where would the recordings be so that people can share it, and because I found it really useful myself.
So we usually share it as a YouTube unrestricted link on the same email that we'll share after this to everyone who joined in. We also will send to even the ones who didn't stay through the whole process, just so that they can keep up with what the discussion was about. And we'll also share the link with Healthbox. You can share it wherever needed.
Thank you. So I also want to take the opportunity to thank Dr. Banji for gracing us with his time. And I'll hand the session back to Bella and Modupe.
Thank you so much, Lola, and obviously for the partnership that this has been. Thank you, Dr. Banji, for making time and for an amazing presentation. I have learned quite a bit myself. Thank you, Modupe. Yes, and Modupe for coordinating with the team and ensuring that everyone was on time and okay. I think this conversation has ensured that we have normalized talking about such a big topic. Imposter syndrome is there among so many people, but not everyone acknowledges it. We have also increased awareness amongst ourselves within the community. Hopefully, it also shows that it's a safe community for you to express yourself. We share mental health resources every Wednesday on Discord. So in case you need to access some of these resources, especially from Healthbox and even on our social media pages, you'll be seeing discussions and podcasts and resources just to help you. And yeah, I think we will still have more of these discussions with experts like Dr. Banji and ensure that all of you get to maintain a healthy mental health and to also strive in your careers. So Modupe, I think I'll hand over to you to close, but that's all from my end. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. The feedback poll is on now. I think about 9 people has filled it. So I'm waiting. Let me just wait for about a minute so we can just close out. Please, it's on your screen. Look at your screen. I don't know if it's showing on everyone's screen, but I can see it on mine. Okay, 30 seconds more. All right, thank you so much. We hope to see you soon for our next webinar. Thank you and God bless. All right, Bella.
Yes, we can
Hello,
drop
Bella.
off. Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. All right, please. Can you end the meeting or should I
Okay,
do
no
it for you?
worries. I'll do it on my end. Thank you so much. Have a lovely afternoon, everyone, and a lovely
You
weekend.
too.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.